Well, I told him I'm not going to do it anymore. So I got out of it, you know. First off, who actually joins a pirate gang? It's stupid. You got to wear an eye patch. It's dumb. I wasn't going to do it anymore. I did it for 11 years. You know what I mean? How much loot can you really have? And when he told me he wanted to cut my leg off, knee down, and have me walk around on a peg leg, wooden peg leg, I was like, nah, I'm out. So I have nothing to do with it anymore. But it's whatever. Hey, how you doing? This is Kris. This is Hannibal Part 7. If you've been keeping up, we've done 6 others. And Hannibal is a extremely smart military guy. I see why Rome doesn't like him. But I don't know if Rome has the military guys that are smart enough right now. They were good, but just not compared to him. So let's go ahead and get into. I think this is the start of 7. I'm sure 7 might flash up. It might not. Who knows? We're gonna see. So let's get into the video.
Across the Alps and all the way into central Italy. He defeated the Roman legions time after time, and after just 7 months of campaigning in Italy, he stood only 130 kilometers from the capital. The road to Rome was open. The city was less than 10 days' march away. But Hannibal's next move is a subject of much debate, and we want to discuss the decisions he made after his victory at Lake Trasimene.
There you go. Yeah, Lake Trasimene was a brutal bloodbath if you didn't catch part 6. Sorry to ruin it for you. But it was brilliant. What he did really was how he achieved it. We'll call it that way. But it still worked out pretty good.
The first 7 months of Hannibal Barca's campaign in Italy were nothing short of spectacular. Despite nearly half of his army perishing in the Alps, he led his tired troops and defeated the Romans at Ticinus and Trebia. This won him the support of Gallic tribes in Cisalpine Gaul, many of whom joined the Carthaginian general. The march continued south towards central Italy, through the Apennine Mountains and the Arno River swampland. The 4 days it took to cross the swamps were particularly costly. Many of his men drowned, while others died from exhaustion. Hannibal himself lost sight in one eye due to infection. A great number of pack animals and horses were also lost, which caused a severe problem for his campaign plans. While he managed to patch up his baggage train by confiscating pack animals from Etruscan farmers, horses were far less common and needed to be trained for war. This left Hannibal's cavalry contingent greatly weakened for the upcoming battle against Flaminius. Yet, despite this setback, the elusive Carthaginian general remained hidden from the Romans after emerging from the swamp. Flaminius missed the opportunity to attack Hannibal's weakened enemy. And just days later, the Roman consul would perish in the defeat at Lake Trasimene. Hannibal re-equipped his light infantry with weapons and armor taken from fallen Roman soldiers, and vast quantities of supplies were captured, such as food, canteens, clothing, boots, blankets, tents, saddles, bridles, and fodder. But most importantly, 4,000 pack animals and 2,000 cavalry horses were captured from Flaminius's army at Trasimene, and another 4,000 horses in Maharbal's ambush of Servilius's cavalry contingent. Hannibal was now able to replace the horses he lost in the swamps, bringing his own cavalry contingent back to full strength. After 7 months of campaigning in Italy, Hannibal dominated the Romans in the field. Between the battles of Ticinus, Trebia, Trasimene, and the ambush of Servilius's cavalry, Hannibal eliminated over 50,000 Roman soldiers, a number equal to 10 legions.
Wow.
Now that Fabius Maximus was elected dictator, Hannibal was encamped just 130 kilometers from the city of Rome. No army stood in his way, and he could have marched on the capital in less than 10 days. Yet he decided not to. let's try to examine why.
Huh.
In warfare, tactical objectives and strategic objectives need to be connected in some form. Tactics refer to methods that an army employs in order to win battles. Strategy deals with broad objectives that a warring country has, as well as the means necessary to achieve these objectives. Without strategy, battles are disconnected individual events. Without tactics, any strategy falls apart. In the Second Punic War, Rome's strategic objectives were to keep the territories it won in the First Punic War, and perhaps seize parts of Iberia. Carthage, on the other hand, sought to retain dominance over Iberia and its valuable silver mines, and win back Sicily, Sardinia, and Corsica that were lost in the First War, along with other minor islands in the Mediterranean. This would enable Carthage to regain its dominance on the sea. Rome correctly understood Carthage's objectives and moved to prevent them. Of the 11 legions that were in the field of the time of Hannibal's arrival in Italy, 2 were stationed in Sicily, 2 in Sardinia, and 2 were sent to Iberia, while 1 remained in Tarentum. 4 legions were left in Italy to deal with Hannibal. At the time of the battle at Lake Trasimene, 2 legions were commanded by Flaminius, which were destroyed. The other 2 were commanded by Servilius, which were rendered useless after the destruction of their cavalry, forcing Servilius to return north to fight an ongoing battle with the marauding Gauls.
It's been a hell of a week. Let's talk about it.
Hell of a Week with Charlemagne the God. New tonight at 11:30 on Comedy Central.
Wow, look at this. 94% of people believe company culture is important to an organization's success.
Cool. This dill pickle mustard is delicious, folks.
With the appointment of Fabius Maximus, Rome did authorize the formation of 2 new legions for the defense of the city, an annual practice that became regular as of 217 BC. But these legions likely were not fully trained, and perhaps weren't at full strength either. Hannibal held a clear advantage in the field. Furthermore, he could rely on the 70 ships that roamed the waters off the Etruscan coast, only 120 kilometers from Hannibal's position. Why did Carthage send these ships so far into Roman waters? 70 ships was over 60% of their entire fleet. Since they were not carrying reinforcements nor supplies for the army in Italy, their presence near Rome itself, right at the same time when Hannibal was also close to the capital, suggests that a possible land-sea operation was planned to take the city. The 70 Carthaginian warships would prevent Roman transport ships from ferrying troops from Sardinia to the capital, while Hannibal attacks the city. The fact that supports this is the positioning of the Roman fleet. Of the 220 ships in the fleet, 10 were at Ariminum on the Adriatic coast. 150 were protecting the waters of Sicily, and another 30 were stationed in Iberia to support the Scipio brothers. Therefore, only around 30 warships were protecting the capital. With 70 ships, Carthage had a clear naval advantage for any immediate operations against the city. And on land, Hannibal was virtually at the gates, unopposed.
So why didn't
To
he
move
attack?
on the capital after Trasimene would have made tactical and strategic sense. An attack, a siege, or even a feint would have forced the Romans to withdraw troops from other theaters to protect the city. This would have exposed Sicily, Sardinia, or Iberia to Carthaginian attacks. At the same time, Hannibal could lift a siege to deal with any approaching armies. This failure to create a link between the strategic and tactical objectives perhaps played a decisive role in the outcome of the war.
The first thing I'm thinking of is he seems like someone who would like the victory. Do you think he did not want to lay siege to Rome so that all the soldiers go to Rome to protect it, and then he backs away and all the other militaries get possession of those other places? even though he would have been the one that allowed that to happen, his name wouldn't have reclaimed those other places. So do you think it was an ego thing? Because he doesn't seem to have an ego, but I don't know much about him. From what I've seen, he doesn't seem to have an ego. But I would say all great military leaders, they have an ego of some sort. Every one of them. So that's just my initial thought, is maybe he just didn't want someone else to get credit for something that he would have helped, you know?
Hannibal himself later acknowledged that this was a missed opportunity, but he never explained his decisions. Two main reasons for not attacking the Roman capital were suggested by historians. First, that Hannibal did not have enough troops to besiege the city, due to its size and its garrison. This first argument doesn't sufficiently explain why Hannibal decided not to attack. Namely, during the times of the Republic, the population of the city of Rome was around 450,000 people. The entire population lived in an area of just 13.5 square kilometers. The city was surrounded by the 11-kilometer-long Servian Wall, a stone barrier that's 10 meters high in some places. There were 5 main gates on major roads leading into the city. 10-meter-deep defensive trenches were dug up in front of the walls where the city faced open fields. These defenses should not have posed a formidable obstacle to Carthaginian engineering abilities. Nor was the city too big to be besieged by Hannibal's army of around 50,000 troops. In addition, even if the city's garrison of 2 legions were battle-ready, 10,000 troops manning the walls and multiple gates would not have posed a strong enough threat to deter an attack. The second suggestion is that a naval blockade was not possible because the Roman fleet would keep the supply lines open along the river Tiber. This would have been true had Ostia been big enough to be Rome's main port at that time, but it didn't become a major port for another 250 years, until Emperor Claudius expanded it. At the time of the Second Punic War, the majority of seaborne supplies for the capital came through the port of Puteoli, over 190 kilometers down the coast, and were then transported to the city overland. Hannibal could have cut off these supplies by blocking the roads. At least for some time, a naval blockade of Rome would not be needed, and the Carthaginian ships could focus on preventing transports from bringing in reinforcements from Sardinia. So why did Hannibal, one of history's greatest risk-takers, choose not to attempt to take the city, while he was arguably at his strongest and Rome was at its weakest? One possibility that is often suggested by historians is that Hannibal's view on war was influenced by Hellenistic thinking. He was certainly an admirer of Pyrrhus of Epirus. Namely, Hannibal's view was maybe that the total destruction of the enemy was not needed to win the war. Instead, battles would be fought until the leadership of one side conceded defeat once they realized that they can no longer win on the field of battle, and stood to lose more if they continued fighting. Therefore, he may have assumed that Rome would seek terms once the many contests of arms had been decided. If Hannibal did indeed hold this conventional Hellenistic viewpoint, he may have thought that an attack on Rome would have been more costly than fighting battles in the open. But the Roman view of war was straightforward.
Maybe the potential was that he could siege Rome. He could eventually take it. But what's the use in holding it? What does he get out of it? He would give it back if they, I'll say, sued for peace or whatever. They're taking Rome back. So it's just you've lost a lot of people, but in the end you don't really gain the city. You end the war, okay, but you lost a lot of people to gain a city to end the war. Maybe he thought with his army being this close, maybe they would look to end the war. The potential being that Rome has lost. But it would be a waste of men on both sides to surround it, siege, and take it eventually. I mean, he's going to have to give it back. You know, maybe his thinking was that it's just, that's a waste. That's just a waste of time because we don't gain anything. And even if he did siege, what's to say that Rome doesn't begin talks? Stop the siege, so he does. Well, that was a waste of time for him. And if his people don't have food and all this other stuff, I'm just throwing ideas out there, you know, that just come to my mind. Could be completely stupid, and if so, I apologize.
Destroy or be destroyed. Rome would not accept any form of defeat, no matter the cost. They would rather fight to the last man than have an enemy assert their dominance by imposing conditions on its citizens.
Okay.
Perhaps Hannibal still didn't fully understand this in 217 BC. Whatever the case, Fabius began defensive preparations in Rome, while, unbeknownst to him, Hannibal turned east towards the Adriatic coast. A game of cat and mouse between the two commanders is about to begin.
So I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I made $49,000 in the last 30 days copying and pasting. Luckily, you don't have to be smart for it because all it is just...
He was cutting the grass. Okay. So that was episode 7. I'm going to end it there. And I'm going to jump back into episode 8 and see what the hell Hannibal's thinking. Because now it looks like he's surrounded. I'm so confused. Tell me what you think. Why you'd think, or maybe, well, no, because they said it's curious. They still don't know. So, tell me what you think. What do you think are the reasons why he didn't attack Rome? I'm sticking with the, maybe he didn't know Rome, because that's a good excuse. He didn't know Rome, and he thought they would sue for peace. The siege would kill too many people. It's just, And it's two different ideologies, and he just wasn't thinking. But whatever the reason, the dill pickle mustard is delicious, and let's just leave it at that. So have a good day, have a good night.